Council in session, please stand for the Worshipful, the Mayor of the Borough Decorum, Councillor Catherine McCreevy.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my first council meeting as Mayor. Good to see you all. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you throughout the year and listening to an engaging debate on the matters that are important to our constituents. I would ask members to remain respectful and adhere to the rulings of the Mayor at all times. Can I ask that all persons present turn off any Wi-Fi hotspots on your phones or electrical devices, as this interferes with the meeting audio. Finally, I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Photography may also take place as long as it doesn't prejudice the proceedings at this meeting. So, to agenda item 1. Does Council agree the minutes of a previous meeting held on the 2nd of April and the annual Council meeting of the 14th of May 2025? Thank you. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Do we have any? No, thank you. Agenda item 3, there is no public participation. Agenda item 4, I have some announcements. I am sad to announce the passing of Ward Councillor Robert Stewart, who has represented the Berkhamsted Ward from May 2023 to his passing in May 2025. Before we hold a silence to remember Robert, does anyone wish to share any reflections?
Mayor, I do. Thank you. Robert was a councillor with us as part of the new winners of the 2023 cohort. But even in that short time, he has left a mark, not least the steadfast and stoic strength of character he has shown since his unexpected diagnosis last summer. I first got to know Robert about 25 years ago through his father-in-law, John Lithgow, who was a town and two-term borough councillor from 1999 and who lived not far from me. John continued as a town councillor into his 80s, but as he declined, I found that he'd roped in Robert and Heather to help with his leaflet delivery, even though they lived in Markyate. And looking back, that was a period when Robert first served his apprenticeship with us. My being ever hopeful for new recruits to our cause, Robert declined to be more actively involved, as he still worked as an IT consultant with, for example, the Cabinet Office. And after the family home was sold, we lost a day-to-day contact until a chance encounter on a fateful day about 4 years ago. It was post-COVID, and popping into Waitrose, I bumped into Robert and Heather at the entrance. And Robert said they had always wanted to live in Berkhamsted and had recently bought a house in Barrock Park, the development on Shooters Way. And we finally got together in the preparations for the 2023 elections. And having seen what John had done as a two-term borough councillor, Rob had no reservations about campaigning. It was a pleasure to work alongside a knowledgeable candidate, willing and able to go the extra mile. The rest is history. Rob was elected to both the town and borough councils, and in 2024 was chuffed to be designated Deputy Mayor for Berkhamsted, as by convention it would lead on to becoming the town mayor, something he greatly looked forward to. At the borough, he joined the Development Management Committee and chaired the Audit Committee, where he could apply his natural curiosity and forensic skills to the scrutiny role. And although his chairmanship was good-humoured, his questioning was based on rigorous preparation for the meetings. And in meetings among colleagues, it was unwise to mistake the meanings of his sometimes light-hearted, throwaway comments. If you didn't get it the first time, you would at the follow-up. I only wish our colleagues took to planning with as much enthusiasm as Robert, who saw it as a key area that can make an impact on the lives of our residents and community. Having more or less retired, I know Rob had been intending to serve for many years. So it came as a shock last summer when Robert told a few of us about his cancer diagnosis and forthcoming serious operation. This would lead him to withdraw from public meetings for many months. Nevertheless, not wanting to miss it, and among all the chaos of that eventful evening, it was good to see both Robert and Heather among the crowd at Berkhamsted Festival of Light last November. Post-Christmas, Robert's treatment was taking its toll. But in our conversations, the common topic was he was determinedly positive and looking forward to returning to active duty and also becoming Berkhamsted Town Mayor. And it was typical of Robert to want to attend the Borough Council meeting in April so that he could vote at that critical meeting and incidentally remain within the 6-month rule. And he did the same at the Town Council. Events took a turn for the worst, and fortunately Heather managed to get Robert admitted to the hospice on the very day that they were supposed to be going on holiday. Thanks to some speedy and out-of-the-box procedural footwork by our town clerk, Robert was invested as town mayor a few days before he lost consciousness. Robert knew what he was good at and played to his strengths. With quiet good humour, he was often able to win people round to his view. Principled, honest, and candid, almost to a fault, not wanting to offend. He was a colleague you could rely on. Robert, may you rest in peace.
Councillor Symington.
Do you want to go first, Graham?
Councillor.
Shall I let Graham go first? I just want to...
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Garrett, for that. That was very moving. Terry Douris and I were on the audit committee with Robert, and we found him, he's just a damn good guy, wasn't he? Yeah. Just very nice. No politics. He was just a good guy you would go down the pub with and have a good chat with, and, you know, very even-handed. And it's a loss to the community. And I mean that with heartfelt. You know, basically, quite very sad that he's been taken from us at a very young age when he could have served the council in such a great way, as you said about his father. And, you know, he had such potential to give to this community. So from all our side, we just give our heartfelt thanks to his service and, you know, think about his wife and his family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Symington.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Garrick, and Graham. Thank you for your kind and generous words about Robert. Robert was my co-ward councillor. I met him much more recently when we started campaigning together for the elections. But lots has been said about him. He had a great sense of humour. He cared really passionately about his residents, and he loved being a councillor. He was really proud of the things that he was able to achieve while he was elected. So at the top of King's Road, there's a patch as you turn the corner, which has been rewilded, which is down to Robert. He worked really hard to do that. He worked really hard with the team from the Dentons. The Dentons is the large extra care home that was built along Shooters Way to make sure that we had frequent meetings with the builders, the contractors who took 2 years to build it, and the residents who were massively impacted by it. And Robert took a real lead in all of that, in making sure those relationships were maintained. As I said, he was passionate about his job, taken from us far too early, and a huge loss, not just to his wife and family, but also to the community. So rest in peace, Robert, and thank you all for your kind words about him.
Thank you. Councillor England.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Robert Stewart, what a lovely man. In his shorter than expected time in service to Berkhamsted West Ward people, he also served the whole borough to cross-party respect, as we've heard from Councillor Elliott as the Chair of Audit. I enjoyed working with him, albeit not closely, and on a reflection, we spoke more on the phone after he became ill. And I just hope that his family and friends feel the comfort that he filled his time with us helping people and this borough. Rest in peace, Robert.
Thank you. Councillor Symington, you've got your...
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now hold a 1-minute silence. Thank you. In other announcements, I'm pleased to share with you a new partnership with both the RAF and Army Cadets for the appointment of the Mayor's Cadet during my term of office. The role of Mayor's Cadet is a prestigious honour within the cadet organisations. Selected cadets will serve as ambassadors for their squadron or detachment and for the wider cadet community. They will support the mayoralty by attending civic events and representing the values of service, leadership and civic pride. I look forward to working alongside the cadets at engagements through the year, and we will formally welcome them at our next council meeting in October. I'd also like to just give a summary of some mayoral activities that have taken place over the last few weeks since the last meeting. So when elected to mayor, somebody said that I'd be eating lots of cake. My first activity was tennis, followed by a 13-mile walk around Kings Langley, then a gentle 9-mile walk in Kings Langley. When I didn't think it could get any worse, I found myself climbing a coconut tree for the Scouts. And I thought, what's going on here? This is not the cake that I was expecting. An organisation called PlaySkill felt sorry for me and did indeed invite me for afternoon tea. So that went very well. I've had a successful visit to the Hospice of St Francis, and the day trippers do a monthly afternoon tea, which, as you can tell, I got excited about. And they go to a garden where a lady opens her garden each month and makes a cup of tea and an afternoon tea for some of our residents. We're looking for more gardens, so if you know anyone with gardens who occasionally would like to host some day trippers, do let us know and we can link up and get that organised. Really lovely moment for me was a visit to a group in Woodall Farm called Nurture Nest. It was a group that was set up by a young lady there, and it's a peer support group for people struggling with their mental health. I visited, had a lovely evening with the group, and when I was there, we noticed a teddy bear that's there for when people need a hug. The teddy bear had no name. The teddy is now called the Mayor Bear. I was delighted this week when I was sent a picture of the Mayor Bear following this week's activity of jewellery making. The Mayor Bear now has his own mayoral chain, or maybe her own mayoral chain. I've been to a few fetes, Kings Langley, where I got to see Electric Umbrella amongst many, many wonderful organisations that were represented. I had a real highlight in Leverstock Green Fete when I met Amber and Molly, the alpaca and the sheep. Alpacas are amazing, by the way, they love cuddles. Or in total, in the last few weeks, I think we, between us, have attended about 40 mayoral visits. Councillor Stevens went dancing in the Old Town. He took that one for me. Thank you, Councillor Stevens. I got to meet Kings Langley Good Neighbours, who do wonderful work helping residents get to hospital appointments. They live in, you know, sometimes it can be quite a challenge, particularly when we're going to London hospitals. There's many more organisations that I've met, but obviously I can't name them all or we'll be here all evening. And then a highlight that we've had this week was a health inequalities event that took place in Parliament. It was cross-party. In fact, it wasn't political. It's very much community engagement event. Approximately 100 people from the Borough of Dacorum came. They represented a range of NHS organisations, voluntary sector, multiple organisations from the voluntary sector attended and sent representation because of the work that they do to support the health of our community. We also had faith leaders from a range of different faiths present, and that led to conversations about work that people can do together to improve the health and inclusion within our borough. So I just wanted to share that before we move on to some formal business of our council. So, moving on. Darren, do you have any announcements as Chief Executive?
Thank you. The by-elections for Dacorum Borough Council, Berkhamsted West Ward and Berkhamsted Town Council West Ward will take place tomorrow on the 24th of July. The verification and count will be held immediately after close of poll at the All Saints Church Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite the group leaders to give any apologies for absence on behalf of their groups.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm giving apologies on behalf of Dave Deacon, Councillor Dave Deacon, Councillor Paul Reynolds and Councillor Rick Friedman.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Yeah. Yes, Madam Mayor. I give apologies from Alex Binder, Stuart Riddick, Ed Barradale, Andrew Williams and Belinda Williams. They're off together.
Thank you. Councillor Mitchell.
Hello, I've received apologies from Councillor Barbara Pesh. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any other apologies?
We have received apologies from Councillors Capozzi, Councillor Wilkie, Councillor Pringle and Councillor Tyndall.
Thank you. Now, moving on to agenda item 5, I draw your attention to the portfolio holder updates as published with the agenda. I will invite questions against each update in turn. First, though, I will ask Councillor Sally Symington if she has an update to give as leader of the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everyone. It's just over 3 months since I was elected, and I'm delighted to be able to give my first update as leader. I'll start with local government reorganisation. The English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill was presented to Parliament on the 10th of July. This bill formalises the powers to reenact reorganisation in local government across England. In May, Hertfordshire's 11 councils agreed that they would no longer be pursuing a single unitary option for Hertfordshire. So as things stand, we are now pursuing the options of 2, 3 or 4 unitaries. At Dacorum, we're working with Herts County Council and the 9 other district and borough councils in Hertfordshire to deliver this. Along with the Chief Executive, Darren Welsh, I attend bi-monthly meetings of the Hertfordshire Leaders Group to look at specific aspects of local government reorganisation and how it will work in practice. This work is so that we can move forward collectively as a county to narrow down the options before presenting a single proposal on behalf of this council to government in November. Currently, we're in our first phase of engagement, which involves listening to our partners such as the police, the National Health Service, education leaders, employers and community and voluntary sector groups, to see how the new unitary organisation could better support our shared priorities and, most importantly of all, improve services for our residents. I will be meeting with key strategic partners in Dacorum to hear their feedback. When this has been completed, we will move into a second phase of engagement with a more public consultation that includes engaging with our staff and residents. This will take place towards the end of the summer, and we will let you know how you can get involved once we have the details to share with you. We've set up a member working party, which brings together members of all the parties and independent members to consider all aspects of local government reorganisation. And this group had its first meeting on the 7th of July. And I'd like to thank everyone who's contributed to that for their helpful input, and look forward to hearing and working with you going forward. I attended the Hertfordshire Growth Board meeting here on the 16th of July, again, along with our Chief Executive. Peter Taylor, who's the elected Mayor of Watford, has been elected as the new chair. At the meeting, we considered the future role of the Growth Board, the Hertfordshire Local Retrofit Strategy, and the development of a new advocacy plan to look at how Hertfordshire can play a key role nationally and influence government. I was also pleased to attend the annual local government conference at the beginning of July with Councillors William, Councillor Diani and Councillor Bromham. We discussed topics ranging, again, from local government reorganisation, you'd expect that, to funding reform, to the NHS 10-year plan, ways to deliver better services, plans for regeneration, really important here, and placemaking, and again, as I said, local government reorganisation and funding. And it was a really valuable opportunity for us all to meet other councillors and hear from them how they're improving their services to residents, and for us to share our own experiences. So coming back closer to home, following my election as leader, I committed to reviewing the impact of the changes to car parking charges across Dacorum. Over the last 3 months, I've met with a number of representatives from town and parish councils, high street retailers, cafes, business owners, and even the GP surgery in Kings Langley, working again with all those stakeholders, particularly in the areas of Hemel Old Town, Tring and Kings Langley. I wanted to hear firsthand their experiences and be able to feed that back into the process. We're closely monitoring high street footfall, and we're listening to the lived experiences of car drivers, business owners, their staff and residents. And I want to thank everyone who has and continues to engage in this process as we seek to work with partners and stakeholders to ensure an equitable and accessible system for car parking, whilst ensuring that our high streets continue to thrive. And we will be sharing further details with you as we progress through this process. My Cabinet colleagues have updated you on their programmes of work already through their reports that we're undertaking as a council in each of their areas. And I'm proud that we're delivering so many successful projects and bringing forward improvements across housing, green spaces, and much, much more for the residents of Dacorum. And I'd like to thank them all for all the work that they've been doing. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Will the leader give an assurance that during the negotiations over the local government reorganisation, everything will be done to ensure that organisations currently financially supported by DBC will continue to receive that support? And I include parish councils, concurrent service grant system and the voluntary sector in that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
The work that we're doing on local government reorganisation will involve consulting with all those bodies, and there will be one you mentioned specifically was town and parish councils. There will be a special engagement with them, and all the views and their needs will be taken into account. And I will personally be putting those forward along with Darren when we attend the group leaders meetings. And I'm sure that every other parish, district and borough council will be asking those same questions, and that will be part of the work streams that are brought forward for us to consider as leaders. So, thank you for your question. I do think it's really important, and I think if we can feed that back through the members working group as well, so that everybody is on the same page and we can work together here at Decorum. And I'm aware, when I'm attending those meetings, of the issues that people want brought forward. But as I said, they will be picked up through the consultation, but I also think it's important it's picked up through the members group.
Thank you. Any follow-up? No. Okay. Councillor Elliott, please.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Leader, for that comprehensive update on the unitary situation. Given the debate at Hearts County Council on the local government reorganisation yesterday, and the interest that our residents will have, I know you've covered about consultation, but I would really like to know, given the information to our residents and exactly how the public engagement programme will be delivered, because it's going to be the 24th of November when it's the deadline. So how are we going to deliver this? How are we going to advise our residents, and also a consultation period with them?
Yeah, thank you. And I agree, it's incredibly important that we consult with all our residents. But there is a process, and at the moment we're in phase 1, so we're taking the high-level consultation with our key strategic partners. We'll then be consulting with, as I said, the town and parish councils, members. As I said, members have access to the member working group, but we'll also be consulting with all members, town and parish councils, all the other charities, voluntary sector across Decorum. The engagement with residents has yet to be defined. The other consultations have been defined by central government, so we will be waiting for that to come forward. When we have the details of that, we will be sharing it with you.
Thank you. Any follow-up? No. Okay. Councillor Guest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And in the discussions on local government, how will the leader and this council ensure that the new authority is large enough to be strategic and that it meets the government's numbers threshold and is yet small enough to be local?
Thank you, Councillor Guest. Those are really the key and most important things. And absolutely, that is our aim. It has to be relevant to our local residents. It has to deliver the best services for them. If it's not an improvement for our residents, then it's not a positive step. So I and everyone else, I genuinely believe there is the political will around the table of the leaders group to make sure that this delivers for our residents. And that, you're right. That is the balancing act. I don't know the answer to that question. I want to hear. That's why we're consulting. I want to hear how we make that relevant, so that we have that local connection, as you said, but we can deliver better services through the economies of scale.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the leader believe that options being put forward have community affinity, or if they're just lines on a map?
So can I just clarify your question? Are you asking whether the options for 2, 3 or 4 are lines on a map? So I just didn't, I don't...
Yes, the 2, 3 or 4 and options being put forward within those 2, 3 and 4, whether as leader you believe that these options have community affinity or whether they're just lines on a map.
So the options for the options have been shared with all members and they are publicly available. So, and I'm sure you're aware of what they are. The options for a 2 unitary takes 5 district and borough councils on the south and east, and the other 5 district and borough councils on the north and west. Is there any geographic affinity to them? Yeah, they're geographically aligned, and the logic to that. Well, I'm not here really to be an apologist for any of the options. You're asking me if they're lines on a map. Yes, they're lines on a map insofar as they follow the existing district or borough councils. And in the case of 2, they also follow NHS boundaries. So that would be that one. The ones for 3 is a little bit more difficult because you can't divide 10 districts or borough councils into 3 easily. So that involves a little bit of jiggling around. And the option for 4 I can tell you, because it's very simple for decorum, if there are 4 unitaries, it will be decorum in St Albans. And are they lines on a map? Yes, they're lines on a map. Is it important to us? Yes, because the Hemel Garden community is vital to the regeneration of Hemel and its future.
Thank you. Councillor Harden.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the leader for a recent visit to the Old Town and to speak to businesses and hear the concerns they have. And obviously the leader is aware that she and I, along with colleagues of hers, went to see the development in Rivergate and the work that the Environment Agency has done there improving the park. I hope the leader noticed the hundreds of people who were using the splash park on that day. And I'd like to ask the leader if she would consider looking into ways of how we could encourage those hundreds of people using Splash Park and Cambridge Park to use and purchase from the Old Town High Street. Thank you.
Great question. Really happy to work with you and Brian Green from the Hemel Old Town Traders Association, who I had a really interesting meeting with, to promote the Hemel Old Town. And I know he's doing great work, and I'm really sure that Decorum can work with them too. And just by way to say, one of the things that did come out of that meeting with Hemel Old Town Traders Association and some of the cafes that I spoke to, and I can't remember the name of the cafe, but one of the cafe was having an issue with the street license. I'm really, really pleased to be able to say that we were able to make an exception to the licensing arrangements, and that cafe and another one have been able to keep their table and chairs on the pavement. Really, really important things that we're doing, and those are all the little things I think that will help make Hemel Old Town successful.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
No.
Could I get you to turn off your mic? Thank you. Councillor Anderson, please.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. When the leader says that the parking review, which, by the way, has been undertaken without using any council formal processes and done very informally, she mentioned in a report that footfall will be monitored as part of this. Is this footfall before the changes were brought in, or footfall since? Because you don't have to be in Kings Langley High Street very often to see the amount of empty spaces and the fact people aren't parking there and our businesses are suffering. But if you're going to compare it, only make comparisons from since the changes were brought in by the administration, then you're not going to see any change. The damage has been done, and we really need the monitoring to compare it to what it was like before. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Yes, you're right. Consultations have been largely informal. I've met with the parish council. I've met with Richard Roberts. I've met with your colleague Alan Johnson, who is a borough councillor. I think speaks as a borough councillor. I've met with a number of the traders, and I've also met with GP practice. So I think informal consultation is a really important precursor to a formal consultation, which we know is very expensive and doesn't necessarily give the results we want. In answer to your question about the footfall data, we have footfall data for, I think it's a whole year before we started doing it, but I'm happy to confirm that in writing. We are looking over a not a prolonged period. I think we commenced it a year before. So it's not just since we did it. And yes, just to confirm that actually the footfall data in Kings Langley shows that the footfall hasn't actually fallen. I think what you're seeing on the high street is people who were parking there, who either work there or are residents, having to park their cars elsewhere.
Thank you. Does that answer the question for you?
I could say so much to that question, Madam Mayor, but I don't need to ask a supplemental.
Thank you. Okay. Apologies, Councillor Allen. You've timed out, so you won't be able to ask your question now because we've run out of time. Okay, so thank you. Next to the corporate and commercial portfolio, I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Allen for his update.
My report has been distributed. I'm happy to take any questions fellow members have.
Councillor Harden.
Thank you. At the end of the report, commercial and general fund services, property services, it says public conveniences and sports pavilions have ongoing issues with vandalism. The small budget is being exhausted rapidly. That doesn't really give us much information. So I'd like to ask the portfolio holder what actions are being taken to make sure that the public conveniences that we have in some of our areas are actually, is the word habitable for people to be able to use without concern or fear of getting diseases. I know that other local authorities do it very, very well, and I don't understand why we can't do that in decorum. So I'm hoping the portfolio holder will say there's more budget coming and these are the actions we're going to do. Thank you.
That bit of detail is added in relation to the Children Pavilion premises, which was recently squatted and unfortunately was saw a lot of very severe damage by the people who occupied it during the squatting. The squatters have been removed from the building, moved on, should I say. And so the officers are highlighting the fact that the costs of Children Pavilion being repaired has put an enormous amount of pressure on that budget. So I will take your thoughts away and discuss with officers about what we should do to make sure that our public facilities are of a quality that is necessary moving forward, in spite of the draw on the budgets that have been caused by Children Pavilion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any supplementary? Okay, thank you. Could you turn your microphone off then, please? Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Allen, the sports pavilion at Chaldon is within my ward, and I've been in dialogue with the Camelot Rugby Club. They need changing facilities for the ladies' rugby team. You may be aware of this. And I've been asked if there is a budget available for that to be refitted, because it's very much mindful of the fact of diversity and inclusion in our community, that ladies have the ability to play the sport that they want to. And so can I have your commitment that you will look at it and we'll speak about it and we'll hopefully get it done?
Thank you. Yes, I'm aware that the intention is to refurbish the pavilion to be fit for use by Camelot, who are the tenants, and therefore the sums of money that have been talked about by officers, I assume, are ones that are being allocated to that refurbishment. But I will find out more detail for you and get back to you more directly. Thank you.
Thank you. No supplementary. Okay. Councillor Mitchell, please.
Is the councillor aware that Gadebridge doesn't have an EV charger, and is there any update on additional funding for more chargers?
EV chargers in Gadebridge. The EV chargers have been rolled out across nearly all of the borough's car parks. I can only presume that Gadebridge car park around the neighbourhood centre didn't have enough space. As far as I'm aware, the programme that is in the final process of being delivered was one that was approved 2 years ago, and that the funding stream and the project is solely what is currently being delivered, and there are no current plans to extend that beyond what is currently being delivered. The scheme has massively increased the provision of EV chargers across the borough and taken us from being one of the worst performing local authorities on access to EV chargers to one of the better authorities. I'm sorry that that hasn't been able to deliver for Gadebridge specifically, but it is delivering for large parts of the borough.
Any supplementary?
Would it be okay if I email you to discuss it further?
Happily receive any suggestions, and I'll discuss with officers whether there's any room for applying for further funding to extend the programme.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Guest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do we have a timescale for the refurbishment of the Children's Sports Pavilion to enable Camelot to use it as changing facilities for ladies rugby?
I'm unaware of the timescale, but I'll look into it and get back to you.
Any supplementary?
Indeed. Thank you, Councillor Allen. When you do an update the whole council, and as well as that, would you be able to advise what the council will be doing to prevent any repeat squatting?
So to prevent future squatting. So yes, of course, any portfolio holder response does get shared with all the council, and that will happen as a matter of course. I understand that the best means of preventing squatting is occupation. The Children Pavilion has been empty for on and off for a very long time. Hopefully, once it is occupied by Camelot and being used on a regular basis, then it will be more looked after, and that will be the best deterrent for anybody else wanting to use an otherwise empty building. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gale.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to see that electric vehicle usage has increased, but how high is the occupancy of EV spaces?
The occupancy is very variable. Some car parks, such as the Forge in Tring, Hemel Old Town, have very fast growing occupancy, which is looking very encouraging. Other car parks, less so. The rationale behind the EV chargers is that they need to be available so that demand for them can be accommodated as demand for electric vehicles increases. And there's a chicken and egg there with supply and demand. So there is a variance. Some of the car parks, what's the provider? The curbside. Sorry? Connected curb, that's the one. Connected curb, which is shorter, longer charging with less power, is less popular than the Osprey, which are the fast chargers. But this is something that we, of course, want to keep a close eye on. And we're hoping that the usage will increase as time goes on and more people move to electric vehicles.
Thank you. Any supplementary?
Yes. Some people parking complain that often all the spaces are taken in small car parks, but the electric vehicles spaces remain unused. Can there be any flexibilities to enforcement that minimise the inconvenience of empty spaces to general parkers?
Yes, very good question. I'm very aware of this problem. Cowper Road in my ward suffers from this very problem of the EV chargers being empty and parkers being unable to park. It is a tricky one. I've discussed with officers about whether we can introduce any flexibilities on this. Unfortunately, the funding that came from central government to support these installations are inflexible. The EV chargers have to be available 24/7, whether used or not, and the traffic regulatory order that supports and enforces the spaces cannot be adapted in any way to be flexible to the demands of other parkers. That's very unfortunate, as you will know, that this is an initiative that was passed by the previous administration, and unfortunately we are tied into a contract that cannot be changed.
Thank you. Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Mayor. At a public meeting about Coronation Fields with the residents of Bennett's End, they asked me to raise again the lack of public toilets in Bennett's End. We did do an assessment last year on the facilities that are there, that are in good condition and would need cleaning and maintenance. We understand that the ongoing issue is the cost of maintenance. Can you confirm whether there's any intention to reopen those toilets?
I'm unaware of any current plans, but I'll take that away and discuss with officers.
Thank you. Any supplementary, I will allow it. No, okay. So, thank you. Next to the neighbourhood operations portfolio, I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Bromham on his update. Councillor Mitchell.
Would Councillor Bonham like to join with me in thanking the neighbourhood team for attending today and supporting the first ever Heritage Open Day at the Roman Villa in Gadebridge, in collaboration with the Hemel Hempstead Local History and Museum Society?
Yes, thank you very much for raising that, Councillor Mitchell. It's long overdue that we should be making really good use of the heritage assets that we have, and this one being in your ward. Who knew that the second biggest Roman bath in the country was actually in the Gadebridge ward in Hemel Hempstead? So yes, so we had a meeting today, and the officers, everybody was enthusiastic about what can be done to put information boards and mark out the outline of the site, which is partly underneath the Leighton Buzzard Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any supplementary?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Doris.
Well, hang out the flags, pop the champagne cork. We've actually got a parking solutions programme manager. But it's only interim. So, Councillor Bromham, my question to you is, can you confirm when the programme manager was actually appointed? Because that doesn't necessarily say that that person has taken up the role, but if they have, can you confirm what date they started in the role at Decorum?
Yes, they started on the 7th of July, and so, yeah, we're going to be working together to progress the parking solutions. So there's, as you know, the processes have already been defined for that to prioritise objectively, and already 60 odd sites have been assessed, and those will be further assessed and more detailed plans drawn up later this year.
Any supplementary?
Sounds like an awful lot of assessment going on here. When do you anticipate the first verge hardening scheme will actually be rolled out for the benefit of the residents in our borough?
Well, as I mentioned, so the designs, we want to start on the designs later this year, and hopefully we'll get some tarmac or whatever material is chosen rolled out next year.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When the Minority Administration Cabinet has finished taking photographs of themselves in Gadebridge Park, I wonder if the portfolio holder could advise the council which administration fostered, supported, budgeted, planned and risk managed the Environment Agency project to redirect the river through the park.
Yes, the project has been going on for a long time through the previous administration. It's been a long process. The Environment Agency has been the major player in that. There were some changes, I think, made by the previous administration. There was originally an idea to divert the upper part of the river and to move the White Bridge, I believe, which might have been a bit better. But anyway, I think it's a wonderful project as it's rolled out, and thanks to everybody over the years who has enthused about this. It will hopefully improve the biodiversity. It's removed the weirs, and there's more chance of European eels being able to get up the river. That's might be impaired slightly if the additional runway in Heathrow is built. But yeah, it's an exciting project, and I'm really looking forward to having lots of people being able to get a bit closer to it when the fences are taken down.
Thank you.
Again, Madam Mayor, I have a lot I could say, but I just haven't got a supplementary to the question. I've made my point. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I notice that you're looking to consult on the public orders within the town centre, especially about cycling. Now, I've had a lot of residents who are quite happy for that ban to remain in place, because it's not about, you know, activity and people keeping fit and all that sort of thing. It's about feral youths, you know, going through the town centre at speed, and basically the older generation and also young mothers and fathers getting terrorised by these children just speeding through. And there's the implication of the fact that people can get their phones nabbed and other things robbed from them by people speeding through. And I've seen kids around the borough who are in balaclavas, on bikes, and they are not, you know, welcoming to people. So I would hope that this isn't something that is on the agenda for you to take away.
Yeah, I agree that that antisocial behaviour is a bad thing, but we have to remember that it's the behaviour which is the problem. We can't force everybody to behave well by coercing them. In fact, the Public Space Protection Order does not address under 18s. They can't be tackled anyway. So this idea about youngsters in balaclavas, you know, the enforcement officers, I know this process was put in place by the previous administration, but it doesn't address that issue at all. What we do need is better behaviour and not authoritarian rule. We have things like the bikeability scheme in schools, absolutely fantastic. We need a lot more of that sort of thing. We do have, you know, the highway code has been modified now with the hierarchy of road users. So everybody, including cyclists, should understand that, well, car drivers, vehicles give way to cycles, and they give way to pedestrians. And we need to use these principles. We need to enforce, we need to encourage and give example of good behaviour, not have to force people to do particular things. When I go to other towns, I don't see the kind of authoritarian systems that we've had in place here from the previous administration. I've been to Luton, Lincoln, Liverpool. They all have lots of mixed areas, you know, shopping centres. I don't see signs or big fines, people waiting to pounce on anybody on a bicycle or whatever. And they seem to have a good environment. We really want our town centre to be good. We want people to be behaving well and considerately, and that's our objective.
Any supplementary?
Yeah, that's probably just, so you'll probably agree with me that you're looking to get rid of this order, from what you've said.
So the Public Space Protection Order is being renewed pretty much. That particular one about the Hemel Town Centre is being renewed as it is pretty much. There's one small change to it regarding the cycling. I've forgotten what your point was. In fact, it's not so much the Public Space Protection Order which is important. It's actually the way that it's enforced, and there's a potential for perverted incentives in the profit motivation of the enforcement contractors, which was introduced by the previous administration.
Thank you. Councillor Mitchell, you've already asked a question, so I'm going to go to someone who's not asked a question yet. Councillor England, although you come up ahead on here, it's because you're a portfolio holder, so it's Councillor Harden next.
I had so many questions to ask and I've completely forgotten them, so I'll let someone else speak.
Thank you. Councillor England.
I'd really rather we went to Councillor Mitchell.
It's Councillor Wyatt Lowe next.
Unexpectedly, thank you. Robin, sorry, oops, not Robin. Adrian, Councillor England, you may recall that we crossed swords at last Spey with regard to cycling.
It's Councillor Bonham at the moment. Did you want a question for Councillor England or Councillor Bonham?
You know, I'll ask both of them if necessary. Right. But I didn't cross swords with you, Councillor Bromham. But at the last Spey meeting at which you were present, there was a discussion about cyclists, and it was implied that I was anti-cycling. Now, we have this wonderful example of cycling in our midst, called Councillor Adrian England, who cycles to Stevenage, wears his helmet.
Because we do need to move on to the actual question, if you could.
Right, very quickly, given your stated intention, which is very clear, to allow cyclists into, I quote, the Marlowe's pedestrian zone, what remedies are you proposing to actually protect residents from cyclists who are not as careful as you and Councillor England?
I'll answer that briefly.
If you can keep it brief, otherwise you may need to provide a written response.
So it's not our intention, we're completely open-minded about it. This is a response to the consultation where quite a few people did raise the issue of why we ban something that is not, you know, they don't have that kind of control in other towns. What we do want to do, in particular, is to have a sort of town code.
So would you be able to provide a written response, just because we do need to move on? Is that satisfactory? Thank you. Okay. So thank you. We'll move on next to the place portfolio. I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor England on his update. So, Councillor Mitchell.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Everyone's enthusiastic. Councillor Anderson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two questions, and I need to ask members to bear with me. I've prepared them so they're as brief as I can possibly make them. They are quite technical.
Can we do one question at a time, please, to give everyone an opportunity to speak? Thank you.
The Planning and Infrastructure Bill is working its way through Parliament. It's nearly finished. In his report, the portfolio holder says he is considering the Council's response to the proposal to remove the right of councillors and local councils to refer to the Development Management Committee applications that do not involve 10 or more new dwellings. The deadline for responses was today, so did the portfolio holder respond, and if so, what was his response on this specific issue?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. We have prepared a response. We've reserved the right to add to that response, bearing in mind that we knew that we've got full council tonight and we might get questions on it. Dacorum Borough Council recognises the need to improve the planning application process around decision making, but remain firmly of the view that this needs to be properly balanced against the importance of local democratic processes and accountability. I could go into more detail, happy to do so in writing, but I think you'll find that my position on this and your position on this, I have seen an email that you've written, which I was copied on, are not too far apart. However, it should be noted that this government has got now a reputation for announcing quite large changes, offering consultation, but not really listening.
I'll allow a supplementary specific to that, and then you go to the back of the queue if there's a second separate question.
Not even with my powers of the language, I think I can work the second one as a supplementary, so I'll have to wait. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Guest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the portfolio holder believe that the proposed national scheme of delegation for planning applications will undermine democracy by eliminating the parish council call-in and reducing the role of members?
I think I've just said that I rather suspect that it may. Not sure there's much that I should add to that. I will just add that we recognise very much that the DMC is one way in which this council listens to its residents, and we have made that point in our submission.
Thank you. Any supplementary?
Yes, I do indeed. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the portfolio holder believe that the proposed national scheme of delegation is top-down centralisation by the government?
I'm not sure it's the best example of top-down centralisation. I think the devolution idea, which is supposed to mean devolving power down, is actually a better example if we're on that subject. The local government reorganisation that we've already spoken about tonight will certainly move a lot of power upwards if you think about the centre of gravity. In relation to these changes, as I've said, I think the government is determined to remove blocks to development and to the growth that will come with that. I think that to governors to choose, they have a majority, they're able to set planning law, and we as a council are able to follow planning law. They are asking our opinion. We've given it in a relatively forthright way, but with an understanding of what is going on here. We're being asked for our opinion. We're not being given a seat at the table.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Okay, right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's really heartening to see the increase in visits to the sports centres from 400,000 to 1 million over the past 6-7 years. And I think, would the portfolio holder agree that this was the great choice by the previous administration to put this contract out for tender, and it's clearly enhanced the offering to our residents?
I think there's a word, isn't there, counterfactual, that when we talk about the past and the present and the future, it's very difficult to compare different tenses. We have no idea what would have happened if Sports Space had remained. It was a very popular, it was a very popular borough treasure. I said at the time that I thought it could be improved, that it should be given a chance to improve. The reality is that at the time that it was that this change was made, this council did not have a sports or leisure strategy. It's absolutely incredible that the previous administration made such a decision without any strategic input.
Any supplementary?
Yeah, I think the portfolio holder is being a bit disingenuous to my colleague here, Mr. Harden, who clearly was very, agreeable about putting a strategy in place, and it was in place. And we can see that it's a success, and we put it into place.
Thank you. Later on this year, I'll invite Councillor Elliott to compare the strategy produced by this administration with the two strategies produced after that decision by the previous administration. You'll find that it'll be better.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I welcome the portfolio holder's response to my earlier question. I think it's particularly important that Council joins others in pointing out that the threshold of 10 new dwellings is no way of trying to improve the delegation to the planning committees, and is clearly an ill thought out and wrong proposal. But another part of the bill involves setting up environmental delivery plans, EDP for short. And despite recent changes that were announced only last week, the end of last week, there are some concerns amongst experts that these EDPs, being less prescriptive, could be used to bypass the habitats regulations, which we in Decorum know quite a bit about due to the Chiltern Beechwood Special Area Conservation and all the suitable alternative natural green space issues that we keep having to wrestle with. Could the portfolio holder confirm whether the government, Natural England and the National Trust are planning to set up an EDP for the Chiltern Beechwoods, or if they're planning to keep to the existing habitats regulations? And I ask this because as part of the legislation, the government is looking to set up some EDPs almost before the bill becomes law. So there are some steps being taken, particularly with the nutrients authorities around Solent, looking at setting up EDPs before they're even lawful. But could he comment, please, tonight on whether this is going to impact us here in Dacorum and the threat of actually bypassing these regulations that we do need to abide by? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I have not received a briefing on environmental delivery plans. It certainly is the case that if this is law which is being made, then the correct direction in which to appeal is probably to one of Dacorum's 3 MPs, or possibly all 3 of them. So we've got Gagan Mahindra, David Taylor and Victoria Collins, who I'm sure will take that very seriously and represent Dacorum in Parliament.
Any supplementary? Keep it brief, because, yeah. Thank you.
I'll try and make this a question, Madam Mayor. Does the portfolio holder aware that it's already been through all the House of Commons scrutinies and is only undergoing its last scrutiny in the House of Lords as I speak, and that therefore it's already gone past that point? And that's the reason why I'm kind of accepting it's going to happen, but we need to ensure that we don't suffer any adverse impacts as a result of it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm grateful to Councillor Anderson for putting me straight on that. I will be talking to my officers in the morning.
Thank you. Councillor Mitchell, I think we're out of time.
Yeah, it's just a very quick one.
How quick? Seconds?
Yeah, really quick.
Okay.
Are you aware of the Fantastic Arts programme, Councillor England, run by Amersham Town Council? Would you like to look at it to see if we could replicate something here?
Can we keep it to a yes/no answer?
That will be a yes. Definitely interested in looking at anything on the arts side now that we've got our strategy coming.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so finally to the People and Transformation, Climate and Ecological Emergency Portfolio, I will take the report as read and invite any questions to Councillor Smith-Wright on her update. Councillor Doris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. During April and May, there were 21 starters, of whom some of those were for the summer period, and there were 8 leavers. Now, I appreciate that this is a semi-technical question, and I don't expect you'll have the answer tonight, but I'm happy to take the answer in written form within the next month. What I would like to know is what is the change in employment costs arising from these arrivals and departures?
Thank you, Councillor Doris. Over the past 12 months, there have been a significant reduction in job vacancies. However, there are still some positions that remain to be filled. I will take your question away and come back with the costings. Recruitment efforts are ongoing and alternative approaches to service delivery are being explored to address gaps. The current vacancy rate, while notable, is not unusual for an organisation of this size and complexity. So I will follow up with those results. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doris, any supplementary?
I'm grateful for the answer, a small part of which actually answered my question. The rest of it was narrative, but it's all good to hear.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, one more question. Clearly, the local government review is going to continue causing senior staffing problems, but Councillor Doris's question prompts me to ask, does the portfolio holder agree that when senior managers leave the councils, when senior managers leave the council, councillors should be informed I ask because I became aware indirectly that the head of Cupid Green Depot left the council recently, and that was complete news to me, and I would have thought members would have been advised about that. So could we, moving forward in future, ensure that members are kept informed of senior staffing changes? Thank you.
Yes, certainly. I'll make sure that is followed up.
Thank you. Any supplementary? Councillor Gale.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there are many conversations on social media and public concerns around what the Hemel Health campus is likely to look like. How is the council planning to engage with residents?
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Gill. We are working together with the local NHS to explore opportunities to bring hospital, GP, mental health, social care, wellbeing and community services into a new purpose-built and accessible health facility. We are engaging extensively with all stakeholders throughout the planning process, and we will be using this exciting once-in-a-generation opportunity to improve how and where services are delivered. All information about the health campus proposals, public survey and further engagement plans are on our Let's Talk Dacorum website.
Any supplementary? Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Mayor. At the last Health Committee, I proposed that rather than just having the roadshow here, that we take it out to the community centres so that more of our residents could see the proposals. This is of particular relevance to us in Bennett's End with an ageing population. Can the portfolio holder confirm whether or not plans have been put in place to take that roadshow out to the communities?
Thank you, but it isn't actually in our remit. Other stakeholders are managing that, but I will certainly pass it on.
Thank you. Any supplementary? No. Okay. In the absence of any further questions, we will now go to the final portfolio holders. It was my error before. So we'll move on to Housing and Property Services portfolio. I'll take the report as read and invite questions to Councillor Diani on her update. Okay, Councillor Smith-Wright. Your microphone is on. Do you want to turn your microphone off? So, Councillor Doris, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor, the Tenants and Leaseholders Committee have been a key communication element between tenants and leaseholders and the council, and has worked well for a number of years. Can the portfolio holder explain the rationale behind what I've been told is effectively the sacking of nearly all the current members, many of whom have given many years of service, including working closely with the previous Conservative portfolio holder? I would also ask if the portfolio holder can confirm that she has fully engaged with the TLC and confirm how many of its meetings she has attended in full over the last 12 months.
Thank you for your question. So we discussed it in one of the cabinet, my engagement in the TLC, and I'm pretty much an ordinary member of the TLC, and I don't attend it as a portfolio holder. I've not managed to attend a couple of the committees in last few months, but I have been fully engaged in previous years, and I go through the minutes if I can't attend an ongoing meeting for other clashes. But I'm happy to go back and check the ones I've attended and confirm the number for you if that's what would you like to know. Thank you.
Any supplementary?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Your answer to some extent explains perhaps why you haven't been able to answer the first part of my question, which is what is the rationale behind what I've been told is effectively is the sacking of nearly all the current members. And I believe also that a number of them have been having one-to-one interviews as well, which has unsettled them and made them feel very unwanted.
Just repeating your question, if I got it right. So you're asking why previous members who were involved in TLC being no longer on this TLC. Is that what you want to pinpoint? Sorry, I'm just not getting it right.
Well, I'll repeat it again.
A point of order, Madam Mayor, is how many questions was that? I counted 2.
Thank you. I will allow you to proceed because you're trying to clarify the question, but I think we need to be very aware of, we wouldn't be discussing individual cases of employment.
No, these
Somebody
are not,
was disciplined, or that wouldn't be something we'd talk about in full council.
No, with respect, I'm not talking about councillors, I'm talking about volunteers who sit on the Tenants and Leaseholders Committee.
Thank you.
And I will repeat it again, and it's really it's part A, part B question, which I know a good number of colleagues across the floor have used part A and part B questions in the past, haven't they?
Please do make your point.
Can the portfolio holder explain the rationale behind what I have been told is effectively the sacking of nearly all the current members, many of whom have given many years of service, including working closely with the previous portfolio holder?
I think I got your point, and I can say that I am not aware of any sacking. People volunteer in these activities in this committee, and if they choose not to continue for whatever reason, we can't enforce them to carry on attending. But I'm happy to go back to my officers who chair these meetings to understand the reasons behind people maybe no longer attending those committees. But I don't think there are sackings at all involved, which is, I think, very strange to hear. But I'm more than happy to investigate and find out.
Should we move it to you'll provide a written response to Councillor Joyce? We need to move forward. Councillor Timmis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given that this government has made it clear that it wants to cut down on the costs of keeping asylum seekers and immigrants in hotels, costing apparently £1 billion a day, what plans do you have to accommodate those currently housed in hotels in Markyate and Hemel Hempstead when this happens? What plans have you got?
So thank you for the question. In fact, it's one of the area where I really want to commend officers, the work they do to support the people living on these sites under our humanitarian team. In terms of decorum, at any given point from Home Office, we have to accommodate about 367, if I'm maybe take up and down sort of numbers. And when they get decisions, then their status change and they move out normally out of decorum, or sometimes they seek further accommodation to be here. In terms of government changing number, we have no instructions yet that those numbers will be reducing in any way, but we do provide a lot of support in terms of their mental health, their well-being, keeping them busy, providing financial support to make sure they understand their options. When they have determinations, which historically was a problem, Home Office were giving determinations straight to them, and they had to leave these accommodation within a very short notice, pretty much making them homeless. And again, we intervened there to make sure Home Office give them sufficient notice for their decisions when they make determination. Officers provide lots of support in finding their move-on accommodation from there on. But as you said, government is planning to change those numbers. I don't think we have any such information at this stage.
Any supplementary?
Yes, thank you. So what will you be telling those who are currently on the waiting list for social housing?
I don't think that is the case. So you're saying when they get the decision, would they be going on a social housing list? That is not correct. People, in fact, in most of the cases, people are, as I said, moving out of decorum and seeking their own private accommodation. We give them support to find housing if they want to be in decorum, not necessarily social housing, they could be affordable, they could be also private accommodation. Home Office also give us funding to source properties, which then would later become housing assets. And we've been sourcing some properties via those fundings as well. They're not necessarily social housing. They're not queuing up for social housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harden.
Thank you very much. In the Safe Communities section of your report, it states that you've got £4,500 has come via the Police and Crime Commissioner. And it states that some of that has gone to safe community spaces in decorum. I just wondered if you could tell me what are safe community spaces and how much percentage of that funding has gone from the £4,500 to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Since it's a joint action, and DBC is involved, but along with police and other stakeholders, I'm more than happy to give you a written response of how the money is allocated. Thank you.
Any supplementary?
It's not really a supplementary, but it is a correction report. And in the report here regarding dens, and also in reports that come to scrutiny, there is always the case that the S of dens doesn't have the equal standing as the D, the E, and the N. So I don't know if the council can get officers who write these reports to actually correctly name dens in its correct title. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I would make sure that's corrected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on. So moving on to agenda item 6, business from the last council meeting. All updates are provided in the action point list as published under agenda item 6. Are these agreed as noted? Thank you. Agenda item 7, I invite the Leader of the Council to introduce the referrals from Cabinet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So item 7.1, CA/49/25, establishment of a decorum investment partnership. I move the recommendations as set out under item 7 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
I would like to second that.
Thank you. Are the recommendations agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Item 7.2, CA/55/25, Coronation Fields Master Plan Delivery. I move the recommendations as set out under item 7 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
I would like to second that. Thank you.
Councillor Hannell.
Madam Mayor, I just wonder if I can just speak to that particular item.
Yes, you may.
Madam Mayor, I'm grateful to the work that the Borough Council officers have done in putting forward the Coronation Fields Master Plan together with the administration for moving that plan forward. Coronation Fields is a 7-hectare site which serves as a vital recreation source for nearby communities. It commands spectacular views across the Gade Valley, and it's a place where I used to spend endless summer days and also freezing early 1980s winter days playing football. It was a lot colder then. The circa £440,000 investment is the most significant amount spent on Coronation Fields in the 70 years since it was laid out by Dutch-born architect Judith Lederber as part of the second phase of the Newtown development in 1951. In addition to the leisure and biodiversity enhancements, the Bennett's End Surgery overflow car park will be completely lifted and relaid, and this will make an immediate benefit for not only the residents who live there, but also the 16,000 patients that are registered there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise because this issue was discussed extensively at the Scrutiny Committee. and members of the committee discussed many issues, and it was fully supported. I did want to make a point here and now, just to underline two key issues from the report, on the full understanding it's fully supported. But the issue was that the consultation had established that the biggest issue was the car park from members of the public, and yet, of course, that was going to be the most expensive part of the plan. Now, the plan included a whole load of extras, I dare I call them thrills, around the edges, which were good and supported. But the concern was that the car park really needs to be done first before the other benefits, even though the report was advising from officers were advising it would have to be done the other way round. And there was one other issue to do with, yes, the funding. In the report, it was advised that the funding wasn't available for it and it would have to be found. I think, therefore, that whilst members all agree with this tonight, we will need to see this as part of the budgeting process for next year, because the money's got to come from somewhere. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor England.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Hannell knows what I'm going to say. It is a disused tennis court. It's not a car park. It doesn't help our residents for us to call it a car park when it isn't a car park. However, this administration is going to make it a car park. Well done, Councillor Bromham.
Thank you. I'll move back to Councillor Symington.
Yeah, thank you. I think Adrian, Councillor England's made the clarification that I would like to make. This was a former tennis court that became used as a car park. It is not being relifted and relayed. It is being relayed, but it's not being relayed because it's a former car park. It's not a former car park. I am really delighted, and I'd also like to congratulate Councillor Bromham on the work he's done in this, that we can bring this forward, and it is an incredibly important project. It's a defining project, I think, for our administration, that we can do this and deliver in an area that vitally needs this open space. The other piece of what I believe to be misinformation is that it is fully funded, and that if you read the report, you will see there's a release from reserves to fund the car park. So that will be done in phase 1.
As a point of order, Madam Mayor, that was not what was in the report that was presented to the Scrutiny Committee, and I'm happy to present that at another time if the member wants to argue over that.
We can only consider a cabinet referral currently. Thank you. Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hear what Councillor Symington has just said, congratulating Councillor Bromham on this. But can I just point out that had it not been for Councillor Hannell shouting about this for the last 2 years that I know of, nothing would be happening at this point on this. So I think we should be congratulating him. Thank you.
We need to move on to see if this is agreed. So are the recommendations agreed? Thank you. Councillor Symington.
Thank you. Item 7.3, CA 5625, Provisional Financial Outturn 2024-25. I move the recommendations as set out under item 7 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
I would like to second that. Thank you.
Are the recommendations agreed? Thank you. Agenda item 8, I will invite the Leader of the Council to introduce the recommendations of the appointments panel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Further to the appointments panel on the 9th of July 2025, I move the recommendations as set out in the agenda that Darren Welsh will continue as Interim Chief Executive until the completion of local government reorganisation. This arrangement will be reviewed annually as part of the appraisal process. Secondly, Natasha Beresford will continue as Interim Strategic Director, Housing and Property Services, until the completion of local government reorganisation. This arrangement will also be reviewed annually as part of the appraisal process. And finally, Diane Southam will continue as Interim Strategic Director for Place, and this interim arrangement will be extended until the 31st of August 2026, with authority for any further extensions beyond this date for this post to be delegated to the Head of Paid Services. Do I have a seconder?
Second that.
Thank you. Are the recommendations agreed?
Thank you. Agenda item 9, overview and scrutiny referrals. There are none. So moving on to agenda item 10. Are there any changes to committee membership? Councillor Symington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no changes to committee membership, but I would like to confirm the following changes to the membership of outside bodies. Councillor Brian Patterson to be appointed to the Herts County Council Health Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Angela Mitchell to be appointed to CPRE. Councillor Angela Mitchell to be appointed to the Gadebridge Community Association. Councillor Robin Bromham to be appointed as the Patrol Representative, and Councillor Caroline Smith-Wright to be appointed as the Armed Forces Champion. Are these changes agreed? Thank you. Just to mention that we still have a number of vacancies for outside bodies. So if I could please ask members' support to circulate the most up-to-date list following this meeting, and I encourage members to put yourself forward to fill any of those vacancies. All the more so and particularly important if they are in your local ward. Thank you.
Thank you. So finally, to agenda item 10, Councillor asked to consider the following changes to committee dates. That the Member Development Steering Group to move from the 15th of October 2025 to the 29th of October 2025. That the Licensing Committee to move from the 25th of November 2025 to the 26th of November 2025, and that the Cabinet contingency date to be moved from the 18th of November to the 2025 to the 25th of November 2025, and to be confirmed as a formal Cabinet meeting. Are those changes noted and agreed?
Noted.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes the business of this evening's meeting.